Week 3 is in the books of the NFL season, and there is so much chaos, so much parity. I'm with Brian Hanley. I'm Tucker Franklin. We're breaking it down all today on Outside the Trenches.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
B, how are you doing? Welcome into Outside the Trenches. Very excited for this week's edition because we've got some chaos going on in the NFL. There's storylines galore. Even if we just keep it on the field, there's storylines galore. Even though there's one in Kansas City that's quite a big one that's been taking the country ablaze. But Big B, no Nick Lucky today again. Man's a world traveler. He's getting around. How you doing, Big B?
I am doing all right, man. I am doing all right. Good week for me. Good week for me. Although the Steelers are not a good football team, we're not, but we're 2-1. That's all that matters. We're 2-1.
They don't take away the ugly ones. That's
No,
what
they
I
don't.
always say. Doesn't matter how they look. Especially, I know last year when the Chiefs were kind of going through that stretch where they beat the Texans in overtime, and they didn't look very good against the the Malik Willis led Titans. That game was kind of an ugly one. They went through a stretch there where they were just eking out wins, and man, they don't take away the ugly ones. And any coach, especially Andy Reid, will tell you that. Mike Tomlin, of course, will tell you that too. But lots going on, as I mentioned at the top of the show. Lots going on in the NFL on the field. Parity at an all-time high. Big B. When we were talking about what we wanted to talk about today, that was the first thing that you mentioned, and something that I'd kind of been looking around because it seems like this year, especially, we got a lot fewer undefeated teams than we have in years past. I feel like us at week 3 already.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. Only 3 undefeated teams. Usually, like I said, there's about 7 or 8 that are undefeated, at this point in time. But with only 3, man, I'm just like, but the one thing about it, though, Tucker, is I am not unhappy. Parity is a good thing in the NFL, man. It just is. Your team, although it may look bleak right this second, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are out of it, man. So there's a lot still to play for. Just got to get it turned around if your team's struggling right this second.
Tons of football left. One of those teams that are 3-0. Only one team actually in the AFC that's 3-0. It's the Miami Dolphins. And boy, do they look good as their points for is 130. They've beat their opponents 130-71. It does help when you put up 70 points in a game, and you get to do that. But the Miami Dolphins looking good. The other undefeated teams, obviously the Philadelphia Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers. So not teams that we necessarily didn't expect. Like we talked about 2-0 teams, like the Commanders were a team, the Falcons were a team, where a couple teams where I was like, I don't think that those guys will be up there for very long. But when you talk about the Eagles, the Niners, the Dolphins, all teams that we expect to contend for their respective conference championships.
Yeah. We all thought that they were all going to be good. I think even a lot of people thought that Miami would be improved. The one thing about Philadelphia is Philadelphia hasn't played really well in their 3 games.
That's true.
Although they are 3-0. I mean, if you just take a look at their games, they haven't just been this dominant team out there or played on all cylinders. The passing game is really erratic right now. It's been the ground game, which that's good. They've got an offensive line and running backs. They've got a ground game that they can lean on, which is a good thing. Now, their defense has played well. I'll give them credit. Their defense has played well, but the offense is still a little chaotic. The 49ers have looked pretty awesome. They've looked very, very good. And look like one of the best teams in the NFL, if not the best teams in the NFL right now.
I think that's really interesting too. You started talking about the defense playing really well, and we have this conversation before, but defenses traditionally start off pretty slow.
Yeah.
And this year, it seems like defenses have really started off hot. When you talk about just locally with the Chiefs, you talk about the Niners have a really good defense. I mean, you talk about the Eagles having a good defense, but it seems like defenses around the league are starting a little bit quicker than they have in years past. I don't know if that is kind of helping with the parity, is helping with the chaos, is adding to it a little bit. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's 2 things. I've been around football for a long time, basically my whole life. My dad was a high school football coach, so I love football, and I like to dissect what's going on. There's 2 things that I think that a lot of people don't talk about that I think we have to talk about more. One, offensive line play is at an all-time low. Yeah. It is not good all around the league. And I think it comes because of all of these, offenses that go on in college. They don't work a lot on fundamental stuff. You'll get good offensive linemen, but as a whole, the offensive line play is terrible right now in the NFL. It's just bad. And secondly, I think a lot of people agree on this. Quarterback plays bad. Outside of this weekend where some quarterbacks got into it, but the quarterback play as a whole, and has been for the last 5 years or so, has just been bad. And defenses will eventually catch up. And this is just one of those years where, you know what? If you got a bad offensive line, we're going to exploit everything that you do. And I think that's what defenses are doing now, is saying, look, you can have one offensive lineman that's good, but if your other three are just average or below average, we're going to exploit them, and you're not going to be able to do a whole lot.
And they can do that too. That's something that I've talked about and just kind of, I don't know, something I've found really interesting in the recent years, and San Francisco does this really well. Who did the Chiefs play in the Super Bowl? They played the Eagles. The Eagles do this really well too. Both teams that are undefeated right now. But they take like line shifts, like hockey line shifts when it comes to defensive linemen to keep those guys fresh. And they throw dudes at you play after play, series after series, to get fresh legs in there against these offensive linemen who are playing the whole game. Like, you're getting these offensive linemen playing the whole game, and then it's the fourth quarter, you're getting a guy who's played maybe 25% of the snaps the whole game going up against you in the fourth quarter when it matters. That has been a shift I've kind of noticed in the recent years of philosophical team building when it comes to some defenses. I think the Chiefs are kind of trying to trend that way too. It's interesting too. Teams that can do that, right? I think Jalen Hurts did just get paid, but Brock Purdy's still on a rookie deal, right? So like you can do that with teams that have a quarterback that is on a rookie deal. I just think that's interesting in terms of like talking about defenses and the offensive line play. I wonder how much that does go into it, of the new strategy of building these defensive lines. Now, offensive linemen will adapt, and like they will, like offenses will adapt to it probably by week 7 or 8. And they'll adapt to it, and we'll have a kind of a counterbalance out here. But starting out here, I wonder how much that plays into it.
Well, one of the things that, first off, you're right. You're exactly right. Teams are doing that. But it comes back to drafting. You got to hit on defensive linemen.
That's true.
And if you don't, because everybody wants to have depth on the defensive line. San Francisco and Philadelphia have just hit on defensive linemen, several of them. And while they're all on rookie deals, even when guys go get paid, it's just like Javon Hargrave. He was at Philly and played well. Goes to San Francisco, gets a ton of money. Well, they're still paying a rookie. At the same time, Philadelphia drafted more guys that can play football. So you just got to hit on you. So you got to be able to draft. I think the Chiefs have done a great job here recently on hitting on draft picks. That's how you do it. You got to build it through the draft. It can't all be through free agency when you're paying quarterbacks, $50 million a year. You can't just say, okay, we're going to go get somebody in free agency. No. You got to draft guys and build depth that way. And yes, it's going to be younger, but young doesn't mean that you can't play. And that's the main thing that's going on right now, is that the teams with these really good offensive lines are just crushing it in the draft.
They really are. And obviously it helps to have that really good offensive line. And even when you talk about the team building perspective is such an interesting thing for me, because I do think that a lot of people anticipate the cap to skyrocket kind of. I think next year they expect it to take a pretty decent jump, but then it's like 2026 they anticipate it to hit levels that like we haven't even talked about yet.
Yes.
Like an insane jump in the cap, which will make things easier on GMs, presumably. Will make things easier on GMs, but having to pay those guys, and I think this is kind of from the Chiefs' perspective, obviously is where I'm coming from with a lot of this stuff, is hitting on offensive linemen too in the drafts has really helped the Chiefs, because they hit on Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey. They're paying a lot of money to Joe Thuney right now. Whatever, that's fine. You're spending that money on Joe Thuney that you would spend on those two center guard combo. hitting there is kind of important too, as they were able to go out and get Jawan Taylor, who Big B, let's go down this rabbit hole. I didn't anticipate going down this rabbit hole with you. Do you
Sure.
think Jawan Taylor's being picked on? Because I look at a lot of other screenshots, and maybe this is my Kansas City bias coming through, Big B. This is where I need you to reel me in,
I
because
got you.
I look at other screenshots from games around the league, and I see tackles doing the same thing. And
Yeah.
I see Lane Johnson jumping off a little early,
Yeah.
doing the thing he's always done right, and he's getting flagged for it every now and again, right? But the only offensive tackle to be flagged for illegal formation has been Jawan Taylor. The Chiefs pulled Jawan Taylor in that game against the Chicago Bears, put in Prince Tega told him to do the exact same thing, and there were no flags thrown. They told Donovan Smith on the other side to back up a little bit further. There were no flags thrown. Now, I'm not a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist. I don't think everyone's out to get the Chiefs. That seems a little fishy to me, though. I don't know. You might need to reel me back in here, Big B.
No, I don't think so. I think that game was on. The problem was it was the first game of the season. All the emphasis was, and they kept showing it over and over and over. Well, look, referees have pride too. And you're not just going to go out and embarrass one of my fellow refs and not think that I'm not going to try to get a get back on that. Okay. So yeah, they're going to take it out on him for a while. He's just got to change. I don't think there's anything that's any Chiefs fan that's saying that you're not wrong. You are absolutely not wrong. I'm just saying Andy Reid said it. He doesn't need to do it. If he needed to do it because he wasn't quick off the ball, didn't have quick feet, that's something else. But he doesn't need to do it. And if the emphasis is going to continue to be on you, you got to fix it, because they're drive killers. They're just absolute drive killers. Makes things a lot hard when you lose 5, you get a good play. Nope. Illegal formation or offside or whatever the case may be. It's just, you can't continue to do it. And like I said, I don't think that any Chiefs fan that is complaining about it, I don't think that you're wrong. I think that refs, I mean, they're human beings too. And they're not, I mean, and they got embarrassed on the opening night of football. They did. They absolutely got embarrassed. And now the refs are in retaliation mode. They just are. Whether we want to believe it or not, they are. And that's what's happening. It'll go away. You give it a few more weeks, it'll go away. But right now, it is what it is.
I was kind of taken aback by Andy Reid's comments. Andy Reid's not a guy who's going to lash out at officials very often. I think we saw him do it. We saw him do it last year. It was halftime when Chris Jones had I remember now. Chris Jones had the strip sack that he fell on top of. I think Derek Carr might have fallen on top of the ball, but it was a strip sack fumble that was negated by a roughing the passer call. Yeah. And they flagged him for roughing the pass. I think it was Carl Jeffers. And then the next time Carl Jeffers turned on his mic at Arrowhead, oh boy, he was trembling. He did not want to make a call in front of the fans at Arrowhead. And that's like the first time I can really remember seeing Andy Reid lay into an official, because that's a bad call. That's a bad call. I think that we really need to see Andy Reid do it here. That he kind of needs to lay into him. And Andy Reid, you're right. Andy Reid has said, like, hey, he doesn't have to do it. But I think even after the game on Sunday, he was like, yeah, I don't really know what's going on here. Like, that seems kind of weird that, like, he's getting picked on in these situations. And his Monday press conference, he said, yeah, I went back and watched the film. I don't think any of those are like penalties, is basically what he said. Like, he's saying, I don't think that's worth throwing a flag on. Now, it did negate a touchdown, which the next play, Patrick Mahomes
gets rolled up
his ankle on. And so that's the kind of the spot too. Like, how do you know that if you're the official, right? If you throw the flag, that it's Patrick Mahomes going to get hurt the next play. Great play, honestly, from Patrick Mahomes to throw that touchdown pass to MVS. That's Patrick Mahomes' highlight reel of plays that didn't count is better than some people's highlight reel of plays that did count. But I do think, Tim brings up this comment here in the chat. When a coach of Reid's caliber says something like that, you know something is off. Exactly.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the big thing there, is that if Andy Reid is doubling down on it, you know that, like, something isn't right there.
Yep.
That's kind of been the general consensus. But Big B, we got to talk about the Broncos. We have to talk about the Broncos because we might do a little bit of dancing. I might do a little bit of dancing on the grave there for the Denver Broncos. Might be a little premature, but I'm all for it. But I got to take a break first, and we'll be right back after this.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
All right, Big B. Now's the time. The Denver Broncos allow 70 points to be scored on them. A professional organization, that specializes in playing football, allowed another professional team to score 20 points on them, or 70 points. They only scored 20 points. They lost by 50 points. Big B. First off, seeing that score was jarring, number one.
Right.
And I thought it was crazy. And then I went back and watched some of the extended highlights, right? The extended cuts. And I didn't watch the full abbreviated game they have on NFL Plus, right? Where you get to watch the whole 45 minutes, play by play, all that. I watched the extended highlight cut, but truthfully, I don't know what the Dolphins could have done to not run the score up, because the Broncos played bad.
They just kept running the ball.
They looked bad. And that was the thing that I took away from that game is all right, the Dolphins might be good. Obviously the Dolphins are good, but I think that says more about the Broncos than it did the Dolphins.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The Broncos quit. Let's just call it what it is. They quit. But like you said, what are you going to do? Just kneel on the ball 3 times and then punt? I'm they just kept running the ball. It's not like they were out there throwing it 90 yards down the field. They just kept running it and they couldn't tackle them. I mean, they just literally just quit. I've never seen a professional football team get 70 points scored on them, or some score 70 points on someone. When I first saw it come across the ticker, because I stopped watching that game a long time ago, I thought, oh man, they got it wrong. That's not right. And all of a sudden, I've let me just flip to the game. I flipped to the game, and sure enough, 70 points. I'm are you kidding me? Unreal. I do remember this, and he's not here to defend himself, so I'm going to rub it in even more. You remember our man Nick said, now again, it's early, but our man Nick said, watch out for the Broncos. Look out for the Broncos. They're going to be a surprise team in the AFC. Well, at this point, they just got a 70 burger handed right in their face. Unbelievable.
To be fair, that was a surprise. Nick wasn't wrong that they were going to be surprising people in the AFC. About lost my whole notebook there with that one. But I just wanted to pull up some stats from that game, Big B. Tua Tagovailoa, 23 of 26. What a day. 309 yards, 4 tutties. Devon, I think his pronunciation guide now says A-Chan. I was always saying A-Chain. That's what I had always
been. That's what I was saying too.
I thought it was A-Chain, but it's A-Chan. Devon A-Chan, 18 carries, 203 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill, 9 catches, 157 yards, 1 touchdown. Going to the team stats, 726 total yards. I believe that was an NFL record in terms of total yardage. But as you mentioned, Big B, 350 of those yards coming on the ground, a pretty close to 50-50 split, is 376 of them coming through the air. About 10.2 yards per play. It was just pure domination. That's all that was. That was just pure football domination. For me personally, obviously, it was good to see it happen to the Broncos. Good to see it happen to that team, a team that where I think I want to get your thoughts on this. Sean Payton needs to give Nathaniel Hackett an apology. Another apology. That for that to happen to Sean Payton after what he said to Nathaniel Hackett in the offseason, that's karma. That is karma. I don't really believe in all that stuff, but that is
that is the definition of karma.
Yes,
it's literally the definition of karma. And it happened quickly. Usually karma, it happens down the road a little bit and all that. No. This karma, And I think one of the reasons, Tucker, is because you've never heard of coaches attacking other coaches' performances before. You've
So
never
wild.
heard anybody do that. And he came out, for one, there was zero reason to do that. Like, why? What's the purpose? Trying to protect your team? Look, they played horrible last year. They were a bad football team. I think what it is, he's trying to cover himself because, oh man, he was horrible. We're going to be bad again. Well, he should have just said that versus attacking another coach. Well, the coaching god said, no. You're going to eat a 70 burger week 3 and your players are going to quit on you because that's exactly what has happened. That's what happened. Maybe they get it back this week because they're playing the Bears. My goodness. And if they can't beat them, then, there's real problems. But the bottom line is Sean Payton got what he deserved. Should have never badmouthed another coach. You can think it all you want. And I'm not even saying it's not true. But you just don't come out publicly and say that for no reason. If the guy had attacked him, that's a different story. But he didn't. And this is what you get. So too bad, so sad.
Seemingly uncalled for, truthfully. You say that. He didn't attack him. It just came out of nowhere one day in the middle of August where it's like, wait, Sean Payton said that wait, he said that yesterday? That wasn't a line from the middle of the season? That was from yesterday? Nuh-uh. Insane. I love it to see it happen to the Broncos, as I mentioned. You did mention the Caleb Williams Bowl happening. The Bears versus the Broncos, seemingly the Caleb Williams Bowl, after a win from the Arizona Cardinals over the Dallas Cowboys, which I want to get into a little bit. Also, a couple of Nick takes back-to-back we're getting into on this segment that are not looking too great, and he's not here to defend himself. But the Caleb Williams Bowl is going to be, thankfully, a noon game on Sunday, so there's other things to watch. But the sicko in me kind of wants to watch that game and just see how bad of a football game it is. But they do have a couple of chances to get some wins, as they do have the Bears, obviously. They got the Jets, and then they play the Chiefs, and then they play the Packers, and then they play the Chiefs again. And then they play the Bills after that. Holy cow. So they've got 4 of their last 3 games that they've got coming up. I guess it's 4 of the last 6 tough teams. They got some tough teams to face. So it doesn't look like there could be any bright skies in Denver anytime soon. And the way that their game ended in week 2 of getting a Hail Mary and then not getting the 2-point conversion call, so hilarious. So funny.
Hilarious. Again, karma, because that was clear pass interference.
Yes.
Coaching guys are like, nope, we're not throwing a flag on this. Nope.
We are not giving you any good fortune. But let's talk about the other team that is in the competition for Caleb Williams, the Arizona Cardinals, which they're not a good football team. Somehow they beat the Dallas Cowboys running the football. They're running the football. The ground game was working for them, Big B.
Here's the thing, and people in Dallas didn't want to hear it. Listen, obviously I live here, so listen to a lot of sports talk radio here, and they were talking about it, and I've been saying this from day one. Everybody loves Micah Parsons, and Micah Parsons is an outstanding football player. He is. But all these comparisons to Lawrence Taylor, first of all, let's stop that. But you can run the football. When he lines up a defensive end, you can run the football at Micah Parsons, and that's what the Arizona Cardinals did. They just said, look, you're too light out here. We are going to run the football at you. We're not going to run away from you so you can chase us down from the backside. We're going to run it directly at you. Now, he is a much better run defender at the 4-3 defense when he's a 4-3 linebacker. Much better. But when you line him up at end, he can be run on, and that's what they did. They just said, we're going to run it at him and see what he can do. Now, I'm not saying every single play that's what happened. But a lot of plays, they ran it right at Micah Parsons, and he was too little. And they just ran it. But that has been the Cowboys' deal. Because, look, Arizona has the worst roster in the National Football League. It does.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're starting a quarterback that literally wasn't even on their roster before 3 weeks into the season. Not all of training camp he came in. No. 3 weeks before the season, he gets a job, and he's the starter.
Yeah.
And yet they were somehow able to beat the Cowboys. It's just like the Cowboys, same old, man. Nothing's changed. They don't have a good run defense. Can't stop it. And if you can't stop the run, it's hard to win in this league, man.
It is. It really is. And as a guy who is a James Conner fantasy owner, I did appreciate the running game
Woo!
for the Arizona Cardinals. Didn't help numb the pain of not putting in Raheem Mostert. But anyway, um, I'm looking at Micah Parsons' PFF grades, and we can have probably a whole podcast about PFF grades and what they mean and everything like that. But I use them when they fit my narrative, just as everybody else uses PFF and for their stats and their grades. But a 67.9 overall grade against the Arizona Cardinals.
There you go.
Not great. His run defense, 60.5 overall coverage grade is in a 60. The only thing saving him there for his grade to be a little bit in that 67, almost 67.9, so almost 68. Only thing saving him is that pass rush grade, which he still had, I think, 5 pressures. Yeah, 5 pressures on the day. And did he get a sack? Yeah, 5 pressures, 1 sack. His missed tackle percentage is still 0%. So every tackle that he had attempted, I guess he had 4 tackles with 1 being assisted. His tackling grade was 76, but 67 for Micah Parsons. Clearly his lowest graded game of the season so far. But yeah, you're right. It's the run defense, and that was an interesting Achilles heel that we hadn't really seen exploited quite yet from the teams that they played. But when you think about the teams that they've played, it was both the New York teams, right? The Giants and the Jets. And I think Willie Gay said this during they asked him in locker room of media availability.
I saw that today.
They said, what do you see about the Jets? And I feel bad for Willie. That's a tough question. Asking about he was, and he thought about it too. He's like, how do I say something nice about this offense? And listen, I think he's right though. Like, I think that is a team that wants to run the ball because they do have good backs. They got a few good backs back there.
They do.
I think he's right in that regard. But just the fact that he had to stop and think about it some more, and then think about it some more on top of that, it was not great. He shouldn't be getting dinged for that personally.
I saw that. I saw that today. I just thought, oh man, what do you say? I mean, I get it, and because at first thought you just want to say, hey man, they're all professionals and they're all good. Yeah, that's not what came to his mind, man. That is not what came to his mind. What came to his mind was they stink. They can't do anything. Their line is terrible because they do have some good running backs. But I don't care how good the running backs are. If their line is terrible, they can't do anything. And sure enough, they can't do anything.
They really can't. I'm going to look this up now about the New York Jets and their run blocking grade. I'm going to sort here on Pro Football Focus, looking at the advanced or their grades here. Well, they're a little bit better than I thought they were, truthfully, in terms of run blocking. They're number 2.
They weren't horrible against the Cowboys. They just stopped running the football.
Yeah,
that was the thing. They were running it on the Cowboys. That was what everybody was complaining about. It's like, why didn't you keep running the ball? Why would you let Zach Wilson just continuously throw the ball to Dallas? Run the football.
I'm a little taken aback personally that they were number 2 because they're number 31 in terms of passing grade, offensive grade for the New York Football Jets. That running does like help boost it up a little bit, right? Obviously, but only up to 29. It can only do so much. That's very interesting to me. Is they are one of the better running teams in the National Football League. It looks like in terms of these PFF grades. Again, like I mentioned, you can do whatever you want with PFF grades. Numbers, you can say the numbers never lie, but you can make numbers tell whatever you want them to, especially when it comes to these grades and everything like that. But no, incredibly interesting when you talk about just the Jets kind of going into the Chiefs game a little bit, but they can't keep letting Zach Wilson play, right? Like they can't. I saw some reports, some tweets. I don't have them up in front of me. I'll see if I can find who sourced this report, but I thought I saw a couple tweets about the Jets defense being upset with Saleh committing to Zach Wilson. And I would side with the Jets defense personally, because I don't know after what you saw in the first. Yeah, for week 1, that was neat, right? That was cool. He came in and he led him to a win. That was really fun. The next 2 games have not been very fun in terms of offensively. But what are your thoughts on the Jets and their quarterback situation?
I mean, it's their own fault. They went all in on Aaron Rodgers. The problem is that they stuck with Zach Wilson as the backup.
Yeah.
That's where the problem came in. They should have cut him and went and got them a serviceable backup, because regardless of what you say, and first of all, Aaron Rodgers is not a coach. Okay. So it's not his job, nor was he probably, I'm sure he was giving him some pointers here and there, but he's not coaching him. Zach Wilson's just not any good.
Right.
There's a lot of people that aren't any good at playing quarterback in this world. He's one of them. So it's their own fault. They should have went and got a competent backup to be the backup. And now you don't have that. And now you're facing the consequences. And even if you bring in somebody like, I've heard Nick Foles and Carson Wentz, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I go, those guys are not in the league for a reason. It isn't because they're good. It isn't because they can still play. They're not in the, I mean, Carson Wentz has had how many chances and failed? I mean, how many times are you going to let the guy fail? I thought they should have called Jameis Winston, even though Mr. 30 for 30 Winston isn't great, he is better than Zach Wilson. I don't care what anybody says. He's better than Zach Wilson. The guy's thrown for 5,000 yards in a season in this league. So now, granted, he threw 30 interceptions that same season, but bottom line is, he is better than Zach Wilson. Go get him. Go get somebody. And yet they didn't do it. And it's going to cost everybody their job.
Yeah, I saw Joe Namath was already giving up on the whole franchise.
Oh, yeah, he's done.
He's done with it. Rich Cimini, actually, by the way. Cimini, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's a C. I think it makes an S sound. But of ESPN, he reported on his podcast that the Jets were unhappy. Just defense was unhappy with Saleh's decision.
They are.
And right, I don't blame them. That's a good, that's an elite level defense that is now having to do a whole lot more work because it's 3 and out after 3 and out after 3 and out after interception short field, after turnover short field after 3 and out, and it just. They can't move the football. It's incredibly frustrating. And I think what makes it even worse, too, is that, it's all of Rodgers' old buddies, right, on that offense. And so, a lot of guys that worked well with Rodgers, the offense really isn't catered now to fit around Zach Wilson. So it puts him, it just has them in an absolute bind. And I think that is what the tough part is.
That they just need to cut bait and go get a quarterback. And I know the quarterback's not necessarily going to be ready for a full playbook for probably 6 weeks.
Yeah.
That's fine. Just get them a package and just keep working it and working and working, because what you're doing right now is not going to be successful. You know it. So why are you just going to continue? I mean, you're throwing a season away at week 3. I don't get that. I don't understand it. I don't understand that, why you would do that. There's an opportunity here for you to do something different, and they just won't do it.
Nope. They got the Chiefs coming into town on Sunday Night Football. Was supposed to be that Rodgers and Mahomes game that it's been so elusive. The Rodgers versus Mahomes has been so elusive in Mahomes' tenure in the league, but won't get that. Instead, we get Mahomes versus Zach Wilson. And hopefully the Chiefs defense continues to flex some muscles. Obviously, we got you covered with all kinds of Chiefs content here at KC Sports Network. So if you want more, listen, we got it covered for you. And I got to tell you about our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook, as we're back with another week of football. And DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping us in on the NFL action with great offers every single game day. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Here's what you do. You throw a $5 down on any of this week's epic matchups to walk away an instant winner. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. Football is more fun when you're in on the action, so download the app now and sign up with code KCSN. New customers can bet just $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, with code KCSN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Licensee partner Golden Nugget, Lake Charles, Louisiana. 20-plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football. Terms for eligibility, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. All right, Big B, anything that we missed in our league kind of recap, league roundup that we didn't get to before we get to the main event, the Blind Nil?
I don't think so. I think we covered it all. A couple of teams that I know were 2-0, like the Bucks. Everybody was, or I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people thought, oh, they're 2-0. Yeah, now they're 2-1 after getting their head beat in. The Saints, I know a lot of people were jumping up and down about the Saints, and then they go, and I know Carr got hurt, but I don't want to hear that. Winston played fine in the second half. He was fine. He had almost the same stats that Carr did.
Right.
They just couldn't move the football. They couldn't do anything. And they got beat. So we'll see. Atlanta, same thing. A lot of people jumping up and down about Atlanta. They got beat. So We'll see. Yeah, the Commanders. Oh, man. Everybody was jumping up and down talking about how Eric Bieniemy was quarterback whisperer, and Sam Howell went out and laid an ostrich-sized egg. Oh, my goodness. Like pterodactyl-sized egg. My goodness. And I'm like, yeah, it can work a couple weeks, but you get to get some real competition. They will exploit you, and they exploited them. So I think we got it covered.
Yeah. I see a comment here coming in from Kathy Welch. Shout out, Kathy, for watching with us late night. Don't hear about Tershawn Wharton. How's he doing? Tershawn Wharton's doing well. I want to pull up his PFF numbers here real quick because I think I'm looking at it really for the snap count purpose of it. Because I think Tershawn Wharton has been a rotational guy, something that he's always been in Kansas City, right? But Tershawn Wharton has played in all 3 games, got 91 snaps with 63 of them coming in the pass rush opportunities. PFF has him graded at a 59 overall in terms of defense, but his run defense is 67 in his pass rush, which is really interesting because we know him kind of as a 3 tech who can rush the passer, has been lower than his run defense, but I think with Tershawn Wharton, it's going to be one of those things where he is coming back from a knee injury. So that's going to be something that slows him up. And especially these bigger guys, those knee injuries with like defensive, offensive linemen do take a little bit longer than the guys who are the skill position players. So just getting him work back in there and rotationally, excited to see what he can do. He's a rotational piece. We'll see how he gets going, how he gets acclimated back into this defense. But defense right now for the Chiefs playing very well, playing incredibly well. Hopefully we get to see him get a little bit more snaps against the Jets. Give Chris Jones a little bit of time off because I believe that's kind of where the bulk of Wharton's snaps have come was last week, if I remember correctly. Let's see. He got 39 snaps last week, which is the most he'd have. And he got 25 in week 2, 27 in week 1. Obviously that was without Chris Jones. So getting a lot of snaps last week with that game kind of out of question. Chris Jones only played like 16 snaps. And against them, they're like, okay, you know what, Chris, go ahead and sit down. Don't need to worry about this game because that Bears offense is bad. They look like they are not trying. And I know that they are. They're professional athletes. They're giving their best. They're getting paid a lot of money. And I don't want to say that they're not trying, but it looks like they aren't. I don't know if it's because the Chiefs are so good, but it looks like they're not.
How do you have 99 yards, though, in a blowout? Even when you're the visiting team, how do you have 99 yards passing in a blowout? That to me is unbelievable. And I know people are thinking, what are you talking about, Brian? It's because in a blowout, you're just throwing the football. There are so many garbage yards out there to be had. They couldn't even get those. They are awful. Just awful.
It was bad. Trent McDuffie played a really good game on the other hand. I think Trent McDuffie is going to quickly become, we've talked a lot about Trent McDuffie on KC Sports Network, so there's a lot smarter people than me talking about Trent McDuffie on this network, so you can go check out what they have. I've got a short coming up actually on YouTube. It's kind of detailing all the kind of the advanced numbers that love Trent McDuffie. But he's played really well and played really well in coverage, and he's playing a lot more in the slot too, which is something that they've really reserved for Jerry Sneed. But regardless, Big B, we came here for one thing and one thing only, and that was Blind Nil. And I don't know if you've heard about this. It's kind of been in the news a little bit. Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift made it 39 minutes without talking about this in this podcast. I think Only Weird Games on Monday did a really good breakdown of just kind of Taylor Swift being there, the kind of how like what it means for like the city of Kansas City, not only just like stardom and everything, but
Sure.
like there's now a rumor that ASAP Rocky and Rihanna have bought a house in Kansas City. Like I don't know how true that is. That is something that I have heard. The streets are saying. ASAP Rocky did shoot a music video in Kansas City, so maybe he thought, you know what, this place is pretty nice. Maybe I'll just buy a place here. Maybe have an investment. Maybe it's an investment property. Who knows? But anyway, I want to know. I want to get your thoughts, Big B. Not necessarily on the Taylor and Travis, but this has dominated the news cycle since Sunday. So we're talking about like 4 days now, going on 4 days.
Yep.
Of this dominating a news cycle, not only in Kansas City, not only in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, where Taylor's from, everywhere. This is a global story about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift seemingly being very friendly with each other, seemingly dating. I don't want to put a label on it. I know they're having fun and all the reports and everything. Listen, maybe I love this stuff. I really do. I love the off the field. I know that people think it's I understand when people say like, hey, that's too much into their private lives. I get it. I understand. But there's something about it, a piece of me that loves the TMZ type drama and the TMZ relationship stuff, the who's dating who, the who's talking to who type stuff.
Sure.
For some reason, there's a part of me that loves that. But I'm curious when we started talking about, when I started thinking about Blind Nils, has there been a couple get together, a relationship that has broken the news, that's broken the internet, in the term that I think was coined by what was it? Page? Was that what it's called? The magazine that Kim Kardashian was on, Break the Internet.
Yeah.
Have we seen anything that broke the internet quite like this Taylor and Travis type situation?
I don't think involving a sports figure.
I
don't think involving a sports figure. I mean, the one that comes to mind is Dennis Rodman and Madonna, but that was before the internet.
That's true.
That was before the internet, and that was gigantic back then. I don't know if you were around for that one.
I wasn't, but I've seen, like, I watched the Rodman, what is it, 30 for 30 or and they cover it pretty well in that. Like they really do. So like I know that there was a lot of buzz around that one.
There was. She was everywhere. See, I mean, she was with them all the time. I mean, during the season. So, but as far as sports people, I don't think there has been one like this. If there has, somebody can remind me that's been this big. Now, again, I'm like everybody else. I like tuning in. I take it from my wife's perspective. She likes it not so much to be in somebody's business, is because I'm not going to age my wife, so I'm not going to say how many years, but for a long time, that Kansas City didn't get this kind of spotlight. Yes. Kansas City just didn't get this kind of national news. And because the football team has done so well over the last 5 years, now the spotlight is being shined on Kansas City. And I think Kansas City gets a shine that I think sometimes people from Kansas City think, hey, we were always this good. Yeah. This has always been a nice city. You know, it's just in middle America and nobody paid that much attention. Well, now that we have a good football team, you're paying attention. And this just adds to it. So I think it's great. I think it's great for Kansas City. I'm not technically sure that they're even dating. And I don't even really care. I don't care. She's coming to Chiefs games. She's hanging out. They're buddies, whatever they're doing. That's fine. I think it's because I'm a little older and it doesn't affect me, or I don't care as much. But I'm all for it. The more publicity that Kansas City as a city can get, I'm for it. I love it.
Absolutely. And I think that is what's been so neat about this. And something too, you know, Taylor Swift, like her or not, is the most famous person in the world right now. Right now, Taylor Swift, I believe, is the most famous person in the world.
I don't know. I mean, it's close, but yeah, most for sure. I mean, Beyonce, LeBron, Tiger Woods. she's
Messi. I
in
mean, you
that
start throwing
category.
you start throwing like global soccer. Like Messi, I think is up there. But like
Yes,
even
Ronaldo.
Messi's in our country right now, and people left him alone out of Publix. I don't know
They
if
sure did.
I don't know if like Taylor Swift could go to a supermarket in Brazil and be left alone. Like I
Maybe.
think
I don't know.
she's pretty popular, and these
I mean,
Swifties,
no,
man.
she's super popular. Don't get me wrong. Don't. But somebody the other day tried to convince me that she was just as popular as what Michael Jackson was. I said, hold the phone. I go,
Well,
look, I love Taylor Swift. I go, Michael Jackson's been dead for over a decade, and his albums are still crushing right this second. So let's
yes,
pump the brakes on that. The man jumped out of a Super Bowl and didn't even move for 90 seconds, and people lost their mind.
yeah,
So, but as of right now, I think she's up there in that cat. It's tough to say who the most popular person is,
yeah,
but if you're leaving her out of that conversation, you are dead wrong. You're dead
right.
wrong.
And having her, one of the most popular people, individual people. We don't have to say like we don't have to
Yes.
single it out to like uh political figures, musicians. We don't have to single it out, female
Just
musician.
people.
No, people. One of the most popular people in the world at your stadium,
Yeah.
in your city. I can remember like on Sunday night, I was singing like, I'm in the same city as Taylor Swift is right now. Like that's kind of like a one of those things. Was like, wow. But I saw a comment here. April H dropped in A-Rod and J-Lo. That I remember. I do remember that one. I don't think it was as big as this one is, but I remember that one happening.
Yeah. I may
Um,
know that April H lady, by the way.
hmm.
I may know her. I'll just throw that out there. But yeah, you're right. I forgot about A-Rod and J-Lo. They were pretty popular. I don't yeah. Just because this is so new. Just because this is so new. Give
Yeah,
it
for
a
sure.
month, and if it's still churning the way it's churning, it will overtake A-Rod and J-Lo. Because look, we love A-Rod, but A-Rod had some issues, and everybody loves J-Lo, but Taylor Swift is more popular than both of them combined.
I 100% agree with that. I am on
Under
board with
both of
that.
them combined.
I am
Regardless of
on
Travis
board with that.
Kelce, and everybody loves Travis Kelce, but
Yes.
Taylor Swift is more popular than both of them combined. So you give this another month, and she's still doiling around Kansas City. I mean, it's only going to get bigger. And like I said, I love it for KC.
Yeah, I think so. TC Riley 27 brings up a good point. A-Rod and J-Lo were only hyped because they were both based in New York.
I don't disagree.
I don't
I
either.
don't disagree.
That's a good
That's why I
point.
think this is even better because it's Kansas City. I love it.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not even from Kansas City, but I lived there for a long time. I just love seeing them get in the pub, man. It's great.
Yeah. I mean, basically, this was a way for me to get to talk about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce was how I looped it in here because I know people are tired of it. I get it. I understand, and I know I like to talk about this kind of stuff, this off the field. That's why I do the beef of the weeks. That's why I do all of the fun short stuff. You guys follow me on Twitter. You know that I like the fun stuff of all this, but. I like the humanizing aspect of it. I think is what I like the best of it. We talk about how we want to make these athletes need to be more humanized all the time. I understand that there's a line in terms of like their private life and everything like that, but it does humanize them a little bit. Tim Reeve, he dropped a comment in here. It says she came here to watch a football game and hang out. That is wild. And you're right. And listen, Travis Kelce jersey sales spiked at 300%. I think I saw it was actually up to 400%.
That's what I heard. That's
Up
nuts.
to 400%. He's gained like over 400,000 Instagram followers. He might be. This might be crazy to say, Big B. He might be more popular than Patrick Mahomes right now.
Well, I mean, Swifties are powerful people, man. The
Yes.
Swifties are powerful. They're like the Beehive with Beyonce people. Those people, they're serious people. The difference is the Beehive, those people are a little older. The Swifties is a little younger generation. But both of them, serious people. Don't mess with them. I'm telling you. Don't mess with them. Don't get in their way. They like what they like. And this is all good for Travis Kelce. He needs to ride this wave as long as he can. Because again, I'm not sure they're technically dating per se. I don't think that's necessarily the case, but whatever.
Reported that she is going to the New York Jets game. She will be in New York for the Jets-Chiefs game on Sunday Night Football. Thank goodness Chris Collinsworth will have something else to talk about besides Juwan Taylor. Maybe that's the maybe Travis is playing the vet move here by taking the attention off of Juwan Taylor. I can remember when Patrick Mahomes had all of that attention about putting ketchup on his steak, and I was like, man, this was the first year he was a starter, and they were about to hit a really tough part of their schedule. And I put on the old tinfoil hat and was like, that's a savvy vet move right there by putting all that attention on you and not have them some of the struggles. TC Riley says he will still talk about Juwan Taylor more. He probably will. Sadly enough, I used to like Chris Collinsworth too. I used to think him and Al Michaels were the best combo in terms of broadcasters, but sadly he's done that. But yeah, that was my cheap ploy to try to talk to Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. I think it worked. I think I snuck it in there. I think we got all the juice out of that squeeze right there. But listen, overall, very excited for what it's doing for the whole entire Kansas City economy. We're boosted. It's booming. It's booming over here. But Big B, what do you want to wrap us up with today?
Well, one that's funny technically
good
is, what is your favorite? I'm interested to see what people in the comments have to say. But what is your favorite movie sequel? What is your favorite movie sequel? Because a lot of times sequels stink.
Right.
But what is your favorite movie sequel from a movie that was good, or you perceive or think that was good? And for me, I tried to come up with one. I'll be honest, I didn't even have one. Because I'm like, oh man, I'm thinking about it. And I'm like, well, what movie? Rocky 2 was one that I came up with. And I think that may have been the best one that I could come up with, because I think Rocky 2 was the best one out of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But it was interesting. But what is your favorite sequel of a movie?
That's really good. And what's funny enough is this is going to show how young I am, Big B, and I realize it will. I've been watching, just because sometimes I've got to not watch football for a little bit, right? Sometimes I got to be like, okay, I gotta unplug the football brain for a little bit. Got to unplug it, plug it back in, get it kicking again. So I've been watching the Spy Kids franchise. And Spy Kids 2 is the best film of that whole franchise. So when you said sequels, that's where my brain went. Is like, oh, it's Spy Kids 2. Because Spy Kids 2 has Steve Buscemi in it, I think.
Yep.
It's got all kinds of actors and everything. And I think Steve Buscemi even delivers a line that is a little too deep for Spy Kids 2. He says, does God stay in heaven because he fears what he's created? And just wait a second, why is that line in Spy Kids 2? That was where my head went. And then Back to the Future 2 was the second one that came to my head, but Back to the Future 1 is just so good.
It's better.
That I don't think it's better than the original, but I do enjoy that sequel.
Right. I just got a text, so I was looking at my phone. Somebody said Toy Story 2.
That's a yes.
That Toy Story 2 was better than the first one. And I'm like, okay, I can go with that. Now, the next one is I can't remember, is it Finding Dory?
Finding Dory, yes.
And a lot of people said that Finding Dory is better than Finding Nemo. I don't know that I believe that or not, because I am a Finding Nemo fanatic. I'm a finesse, so I don't know. But that was the two that somebody had just texted me.
Interesting. I got some responses in the chat. Back to the Future, TC Riley 27 bringing that one up as I did. Aliens. The second Alien.
Yes.
That's a good one. Tim Reeb, he says the trilogy is all solid. All three movies are good. Beverly Hills Cop 2.
I don't know. The Beverly Hills Cop was great. Beverly Hills Cop 2 was okay, I guess. First of all, the third one was horrific. But I don't know if it's better than the first one. Matter of fact, I'm positive it's not.
Megan brings this question here, or this one. Empire Strikes Back.
That without question.
Yeah, I forgot about Star Wars, because it's named what would it be? Would it be 5? right?
I guess. Yeah, no, she is right. Empire
She's
Strikes.
100%
First of
right.
all, Empire Strikes Back to me is in my top 3 of best movies ever.
Oh yeah.
Best top 3 of best movies ever. Megan is 100% correct. I wasn't even thinking about Star Wars, but Empire Strikes Back is awesome. Beyond awesome. Beyond
It
awesome.
is
The
a
best
very
movie in
good
that
movie.
entire franchise.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm a Star Wars connoisseur where I like all the stuff they're making now. Like I'm not picky with it, right? But like I just enjoy all of the stuff that they've been putting out recently, especially the Ashoka series has been really good. So
Right.
yeah, no, I can't even believe I didn't think about that. I guess it is technically the sequel
It
because
is. It's the second
yeah,
movie.
that is the second movie that
It's
they made,
weird to
even
the
though it's
order because
number
it's
5.
technically number 5, but it was the second movie that came
Oh,
out.
it's good. Wow, shout out Megan for that one.
Hey, she's
Next
right.
Friday,
She wins
yeah,
for the
she
night.
does.
She 100% wins.
Couple more comments here. Next Friday from Big Cliff.
Uh,
I don't know about that one.
I did it wasn't better than Friday. No.
No. Ghostbusters 2. Ghostbusters 1's
Ooh,
pretty good.
Tim, man. Ghostbusters 2 is a goodie. That gets watched a lot at the Hanley house. A lot. Ghostbusters 2 is really, really good.
Godfather 2.
See, now, Megan, look, Godfather 2 is in the top 5 movies of all time. But the only reason I don't bring it up is because Godfather is number 1 of all time. So I love this, man. I love where her head is at. I love it. Because she's right.
Good
Godfather
films.
2 is crazy good. However, it's just not better than the first Godfather. But it is good. It is good.
Last
It's
one
really
I'll
good.
bring up. I got one more I'll bring up. Lethal Weapon from April.
Ooh, Lethal Weapon 2?
Lethal Weapon 2 is pretty good.
Lethal Weapon 2, I think, was better than the first one. So, yeah. That's another one that gets watched in our house. It's amazing that this April H lady is bringing up stuff that gets watched in the Hanley household. I don't know how that happens, but
that's strange. All right, Big V, let's wrap it up here. Any final thoughts before we go? Looking ahead, week 4 already in the NFL season. Jets hosting the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. We got Packers versus Lions on Thursday Night Football. And I think we're back to only one game on Monday Night Football.
Thank goodness.
I know, because those two overlapping games were a little much for me.
Yeah.
But your thoughts, final thoughts here.
Look, if the Chiefs come out and do their thing, they're going to handle the Jets. I mean, The Jets are not a pushover on defense, so the Chiefs will have to come out and play football. And if they overlook them, they'll get some lucky plays. Look, Garrett Wilson is still a really, really good receiver, so you got to cover him. But if the Chiefs come out and do their thing, they are going to handle them. So I suspect that they win that game. Maybe not even necessarily handily. 10, 14-point game, that's fine. You can't blow everybody out. It's professional football. That's just not going to happen.
Right.
The one thing to keep in mind, people, I know you're not going to want to hear this, but if the Steelers beat the Texans on Sunday, they will be 3-1. Just something to throw out there. Just something to throw out there. Steelers will be 3-1 if they beat the Tech, which is a tough task because, again, we're not very good. But if they win, hey, I'm just saying. I'm going to get some Chief fans to start liking the Steelers a little bit. Just a little. Not a lot, just a little. Just a little.
That's all you need. That's all you need right there. Got a good defense. Good defense over there in Pittsburgh. It's that offense. You gotta get the ball to Pickens a little bit more.
Well, baby hands Pickett is killing me, but we'll see. We'll see.
I have a nickname for Kenny Pickett during the draft process. I came up with that is not safe for air for me to say. So we'll leave it at that. Leave it at
baby hands. Let's just call him baby hands.
Baby hands is a good yes. Baby hands, and it might also start with a B, but it's baby hands. Looking at, how did I get to the Packers and Lions line? I thought I clicked on the Chiefs and the Jets. 9.5-point favorites. The Kansas City Chiefs are on the road in New York, taking on the New York Football Jets. Very exciting game coming up there. But Big B, appreciate you hanging out with me. We'll be back next week, hopefully with some Nick Lecky. We need some Nick Lecky back on the podcast.
We do need Nick back. We need him back.
We got to give him some mess about
Oh,
the takes he's had early on in the season. But appreciate everybody hanging out with us live at the time of Outside the Trenches. Appreciate you listening to this whenever you get the chance to. We really do appreciate that here at KC Sports Network. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Also subscribe if you're listening to anywhere you get your podcast. So we really appreciate you guys. We'll be back next week with another edition, hopefully full strength for you. So until then, that's Brien Hanley. I'm Tucker Franklin. We'll talk to you later.